Hey guys, what's up? It's Carl here, coming at you with a tutorial on how I mix my drums with Waves plugins. Cool, so without further ado, let's get into it. My drums today are coming from EZDrummer. Give this a second to load up. So coming from EZDrummer, and it's just the initialized patch. I haven't changed any of the drums here, it's just out of the box how you open it, okay? And I've loaded a few little MIDI pattern clips from EZDrummer here as well. So it's just some basic rhythm, and that sounds like this. Okay, so really easy. And what I've done is I've actually bounced out all the individual stems. So I have my kick, my snare, my hat, my toms, my overheads, and my room. Okay, so into audio. So I've bounced them out into audio, and I'm just going to disable our EZDrummer track here, just so that it doesn't get too taxing on my CPU with the screen capture software running as well. Okay, so now we can get into the mixing part of this. So I'm going to go to my mixer. These are all my audio files here. I'm just going to bring them down in volume, all of them, okay, to give me some headroom. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting on this NLS plugin from Waves. It's a console emulation plugin. I really like the Neve channel here. Just take the noise off. I'm going to pump it up to about 70% just to give it some saturation and some console emulation. And what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going to copy all of this plugin onto all of these channels here that we have, just to give every channel the same amounts of console emulation and saturation. Now what I'm going to do is put on an SSL bus compressor from Waves, and I'm also going to just like initialize this patch. So we just take this down to 0. Okay, and I'm going to once again copy this plugin onto every single channel just so we have it there. And then finally I'm going to put on a Fab Filter Pro Q onto each one of my channels here. Okay. Cool, so now we're all set up. So let's start with a kick. Now I want to be getting about 2 to 3 dBs of gain reduction here. I'm going to leave my attack very slow and very fast release. Okay, that's with, and now I'm going to take it off. That's without. And now with. Cool, so just giving some punch there. Now with my kick drum, I like to notch out quite a few dBs of round about, I don't know, 400, 300 and 400, because it just sounds a bit boxy to me there. But you guys can sweep your frequency range and then just notch out to taste. So this frequency range I really want to notch out. So that's quite a lot, but it really tightens it up. And I'm just giving some top end for some bite, and that'll really punch through the mix. Cool, so let's take all these plugins off now and see where we started. That's with off, and now on. Cool, so a big difference there. Let me just take these all down a little bit more. Alright, so just sounds a lot more punchy, and I took out some of that roomy boxiness of the kick. Now we're going to do the same kind of process for the snare. I'm going to change this to 10 milliseconds of attack and 3 milliseconds of release, just so we can give it a bit more sustain and kind of bring out the tail of the snare and give it a bit more bite. I'm looking for about 2 dBs of gain reduction, 2 to 3. Yeah, let's go 3. Okay, so that's a with. And now without. And now with. So it really brings up the tail of the snare that I like. Now we're going to roll off a little bit of the lows, off the snare here. I'm going to boost the fundamental here around, what's that, 200? Around 180. Take out some boxiness and give it some bite. So that really cleans up the snare a lot. So this is with all the plugins on, and then I'll turn it off. Put everything on, and now off. And now on. So that really cleans up our snare a lot. Cool. Now we're going to move on to our hat. We really don't want to squash our hat too much. We're just looking for a little bit of gain reduction, maybe 0.5 dBs of gain reduction. Okay, that's more than enough. We just wanted to lightly touch the compressor. And now we want to roll off all this junk and nonsense down here on the low end. And just give it some top end. I'm also going to pan this a little bit more to the left here. Cool. Now let's get to our toms. I'm just going to loop this section here, our toms. Oopsie. Yeah, beat. That's better. So 10 milliseconds of attack, 3 milliseconds of release. And I'm going to look for about 4 dBs of gain reduction. And I'm going to take it off. So it really just levels those toms out and gives them some punch and sustain. Now for some EQ shaping. Yeah, sounds good. So that's with everything on. And I'll take it off. And now on. Okay, so a big difference there. Now let's move on to our overheads. Also, overheads you really don't want to squash. So I'm going to leave it with the slowest attack, and I'm going to give it 3 milliseconds of release to give it just some sustain and some glue. You know, look for about 2 dBs of gain reduction max. And let me take my loop off. Sorry about that. On and now off and now on. Cool. Let's do some EQ shaping here. I'm going to roll off the low end, give a little bit of body and a little bit of high end. That's all we need to do there. So that's with it on and now off. On again. So it really just brightens it up again. I'm sorry, that's my alarm. Cool, so that really just brightens it up and gives it some bite at the top end. Now let's solo our room mic here. Now with the room mic, I'm going to set my attack level to very, very fast, and I'm going to keep my release level very, very fast. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to really squash these down, and you're going to hear how it really just brings this room to life and makes it sound larger than life. With about 10 dBs 11 dBs of gain reduction. Okay, so that's with our compressor on, and now I'm going to take it off. So big difference there. And now on again. So it really just beefs up your drums a lot. Let's do some EQ shaping again. And I'm going to give it quite a lot of top end. Okay, so I'm going to play it with everything on, and then I'll take all the plugins off and you can hear the difference. On, and now off. And now on again. So obviously a lot louder, but we've improved the sound there a lot. Okay, so now I'm just going to play everything that we've done so far with the plugins on, and then I'll take all the plugins off, and you can hear the difference so far. And that's what we started with. That's straight out of EZDrummer. And that's what we have so far. So again, it's just a little bit of compression and some EQ shaping, nothing too drastic. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of our drums and we're going to bust them to a group. Okay, I'm going to call this clean. Okay. So we have this clean channel here that all of our individual drums are going to. And I'm also just going to do a little bit of volume leveling of this kit now. There we go, that sounds pretty good to me. And if you want a tighter, cleaner drum sound, you can take these overheads and room mics down, and you can have a kind of drier, intimate, closer drum sound for you. And if you want to, and if you bring them up in level a lot higher, then you'll have a big kind of more Metallica, big roomy sound, big kind of more of a stadium sound. Yeah. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an auxiliary track. In Cubase it's called an effects channel, but I'm going to call this parallel, and I'm going to put on a compressor from Waves called the the V compressor, the V comp, and this is going to be a bus in which we do parallel compression. Okay, so we're going to send drums to this channel in different amounts, and we'll blend it in with our dry bus. So now we're going to take the analog all the way off because we don't want any analog hiss, and we're going to take the release down to 400 milliseconds there. And I'm just going to take this all the way down so you can't hear the effects of it just yet, and I'll show you why. So we're going to go to our sends here. I'm going to go to our snare track. Okay. We're going to take this, we're going to set this to parallel. I'm going to turn it on, and we're sending it in with the full amount to our parallel bus. But you won't hear anything because, well, you won't hear any of the compressed signal because I have the fader all the way down. So let me just go back up here, open up our compressor. Okay, so now I'm going to solo the snare, and we must make sure that we're getting about minus 12 dBs of gain reduction. So we're really going to squash it. Let's raise the input of the compressor here. Okay, cool, so that looks good. But remember, you're not going to hear anything because I haven't brought this level up here, but I'll show you why in just a second. Cool, so we're getting minus 12 dBs of gain reduction on the snare. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the kick drum to the parallel bus as well. Turn it on. But I'm going to take the send all the way down, and I'm going to blend it in gradually. And I'll show you why. It's because the kick drum has a lot more low-end information, and I won't have to send as much of the kick drum to this compressor to get it to minus 12 dBs of gain reduction. So I want my snare and my kick drum to have the same amount of gain reduction. Okay, solo my kick. Okay, and that looks fine. So I didn't have to send quite as much of my kick to the compressor as I did with my snare. So that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send all of my toms to my parallel bus, my tom channel to my parallel bus, and you can send a full amount of toms. And now I'm going to solo my overhead bus, send that to my parallel compression bus, turn it all the way down, and we don't want to send too much of the signal to our parallel compression bus. We just want about 3 dBs of gain reduction. Okay. Okay, that's more than enough. And we're going to do the same for the room. Okay, and that's enough there. Okay, now you guys still can't hear the effects of the parallel bus because I haven't put it in yet. And what I'm going to do just before I start blending it in is I'm going to solo my snare. And I'm going to make sure that when I blend this channel in, that the compressed signal isn't going higher than the dry signal, because otherwise then you're going to have more compressed signal coming through than dry signal, and you don't want that. You just want to blend in a bit of the compressed signal with the dry signal to give it some body. Okay. So I'm going to be looking at my meters for this. Okay, so that looks good. My compressed signal isn't going above my dry signal. And now I can unsolo everything and we can listen to what the parallel compression is doing for us. So I'll keep it in and then I'll mute it and you guys can hear the difference. That's with it in. So it really just brings some body to the drums and lets the kick and snare cut through in a mix that's going to really do a lot for you guys, because when you have a lot of busy guitars and big ass bass going on, that's going to really help your kick and snare cut through the mix. Cool. So now what we're going to do is take our parallel channel and our clean channel, and we're going to bus these two to a bus. Okay, and we're going to call this drums full. Okay, let's just call it that. So we have our dry clean signal and our parallel compressed signal now both going to their own bus. Okay, they're both going to one bus. Now what we're going to do is we're going to now process the clean and the parallel compressed signal all together. So we're going to start with our favorite SSL bus compressor plugin. Okay, let's just kind of initialize it here. And we're going to leave it with a slow attack of 30 milliseconds and a fast release of 1 millisecond. So this is going to really just tighten up the whole kit. And we're going to be looking for about 2 dBs of gain reduction only. So I'm going to play it with it on, and then I'll take it off. On. Cool, I can actually just take all of my drums down a little bit. Yeah, so that really just gives the whole kit some punch and some glue. Now I'm going to add one of my favorite plugins, which is the Kramer Tape saturation plugin from Waves. I'm going to put the flux to about 370 and take the wow and flutter all the way down. You don't need that. And I'm going to take the record level all the way down whilst it's linked to playback level, and then I'm just going to add some saturation. I'll push it further than I need to, just to show you the effects of it, but then I'll back it back off. So that's too much. I'll back it off. So that sounds great. That really just glues the low end of that of the kit together, and it just glues the whole kit together and just makes it sound like one really big strong drum sound. Cool. Now finally we're gonna put on a VEQ from Waves, the VEQ4. I'm gonna start by rolling off the 27 Hertz because there's no information down there. Take off analog because we don't want the hiss. I'm going to set this band to 56 Hertz. I'm going to bring that up by about 1.5 dBs. I'm going to set this to the 470. I'm going to bring that down by about 1.7 dBs. I'm going to set this to the 5.6 kilohertz, and I'm going to bring this up by about 1.5 dBs just to give it some air at the top there, just to brighten it up a bit. Okay, let's see how this sounds. Put it on, and I'm going to take off. And now on. Cool, so a little bit of EQ shaping going on there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it with the inserts on our full drum bus. I'll play it with all the plugins on, and then I'll take them off and you guys can hear the difference of the drum bus processing. So with it on. So it really just glues everything together and puts that last little bit of shine on our drum mix. Okay, so now we're basically done. We are done, and now what I'll do for you guys is I'll do an A and B test. I'll take off all the sends and I'll take off all the plugins. I'll take them all off at once, and then I'll put them all back on at once as well, so you guys can hear where we started and where we got in the end. Cool, so let's start with everything on, and then I'll take them off. That's everything on. And that's where we started. And that's where we landed up. Cool, so I think that sounds a lot better, and it's been really easy. We've just used a little bit of simple compression, nothing too hectic, a little bit of EQ shaping on each individual channel, and we sent a few of our channels, our kick, our snare, our toms, our overheads, and our rooms to a parallel compression auxiliary channel, and then we sent the clean and compressed signal to a drum bus, and we did a little bit of compression and tape saturation and EQ shaping on that, and that literally just made the world of difference to our stock, just out of the box EZDrummer sounds. So I hope that's really helped you guys today. Thanks for watching, I appreciate it. Come back for some more tutorials that I'll be doing soon. Hope this helped you guys out, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.